So I'm going to start by asking both Silvia and Corinne to introduce yourselves and talk about the course in its, you know, sort of the headlines and how long it's been running for. I'm not ignoring Liz at all, but obviously she's doing two panels back to back very energetically, and so then we'll bring Liz into the discussion. Okay, Silvia, do you want to start?
Hello everybody, and thank you for staying with us until the end, because even if there is a lot of creativity in this industry, sometimes we forgot the audience. We do so many films, so many great products, but which is the public? Where we found the public? And actually the training course that I organize, I'm the training coordinator, is conceived for art house cinema managers, programmers, or people working in the exhibition field. So actually there are two kinds, let's say, of cinemas. The commercial one, big chain, blockbusters, and the independent one. So CICA is the International Confederation of Art House Cinema Theaters and was built 60 years ago by the National Association of France, Germany, Switzerland, and the Netherlands. And at the beginning there were only 67 cinemas, and now we are almost 2,000 in 37 countries. So this is the last panel, but cinemas often are also the last ring of the chain of rights. We forget a lot about them. And actually in the Creative Europe program, also exhibition is a little bit the last one for financing. So we forget that people discover your film, first of all, on a screen. And cinemas are not only a box, but a place full of competencies. Business planning, project management, programming, audience development. There are so many things that an exhibitor needs to know to run a cinema in a good way that actually is very important for us to have the opportunity, thanks to the European Commission Media Funding, to organize this training, because it's the only one. The only international training for art house exhibitors is the only place where actually exhibitors can meet, share experience, and we have around 50 participants, a little bit more than 30 trainers, is translated simultaneously in 4 languages, because exhibitors often stay in their village and they only think about the public around, but actually it's a category that need to lobby and they need to know what is happening in other countries. And so that's why I'm very happy that this training continue to have place in Venice, during the Venice Film Festival also. And it's, yeah, an 8-day residential training. So I can talk about the training for hours, so I'm stopping here.
I should acknowledge that what, how many days since it finished for this year? So you're
oh yeah, just finished like
fresh from
running. I'm still recovering actually. It finished 7 days ago, or 1 week ago. Yeah. So yeah.
So we'll come back to some of the kind of themes and kind of particular objectives in a second, but can I ask you to do a similar introduction?
Sure. Independent Cinema Office is London-based support agency for independent cinemas and film festivals. We run training courses for programmers from cinemas, marketing, leadership skills, all sorts of things to help independent cinema staff and festival staff to grow and learn. And one of our training courses is called Developing Your Film Festival. It takes place in Croatia every July, and it's been running for 5 years. It's run in a place called Motovun, which is a mountaintop film festival. So it's very unique. Weekend, or I think it's a 5-day film festival, so we run our training course alongside it so people can go and watch films in the evening, and during the day they're working with other film festival managers to talk and network and inspire each other. We bring speakers to Motovun to talk to them and pass on their skills. So it's a really great kind of retreat away from your work and a chance to yeah, try and develop your skills.
Brilliant, thank you. So when we were talking before we came on stage this afternoon, we were thinking about kind of what you've covered so far and how to kind of I guess, kind of attach audiences and all the things that we think about kind of on the courses that we run, and all the ways, places, online, offline, that we need to kind of think about this particular area of the sector. So, Silvia, can you, given that you're just back from Venice this year, can you talk a bit about what the kind of, what are people preoccupied with on your course at the moment, across the speakers and the participants? Because obviously it's an intensive course, it happens over several very busy days, and thinking about some of these points here, what do you feel are the kind of the really kind of essential skills, I guess?
Well,
at the moment?
actually, I saw that this year I saw two things that I think are pretty important for me. The first one is that something is happening in the art house industry, because in 2015 we had the creation of 2 networks of art house cinema theaters in Spain and in Croatia, the first networks of this kind. And actually, another one is perhaps developing in US, thanks to the Art House Convergence and Sundance Art House project. So, actually, several people coming to the training wanted to build a network in their own country, and is exactly what is happening with the Film Hub. So it's a kind of movement. There was a movement of art house cinema theaters in the 60s, so that's why France now is so strong with the exhibition sector, with the art house. They have more than 1,100, I think, art house cinema theaters. They're pretty strong. They have a lot of power with the national institution and also the European institution, because they work together. And it's exactly what the BFI and the Film Hub understood right now. We need to develop the activities, and we need to support exhibition, because it's the closest place where audience find the film and have suggestion about the film, can talk with the people working in the cinema. So there is this kind of movement. People need to get together. Like in Croatia, for instance, they made a great job. In Finland also they want to get together because they don't have enough film. They don't have the film they want. They want to show smaller film, but they don't know how to get it because the distribution is weak or is too much centralized. So during our training, they discuss a lot about how to change the chain of rights. How is it possible to circulate the film without the regular windows? So this is one of the main topics. And then the second one is, of course, programming, because with the digitalization is the right word? Yeah. Of the most part of screen in exhibition, actually you have many opportunities to show different products, not only film, but also alternative contents, game, because also game are coming in cinemas. A lot of products, and now cinemas are facing like a reality. How to connect with the people. We cannot just show a film and expecting people come to see us. No, they are trying to discuss a new identity for a new audience, actually. So something is changing, I think, in this. Sorry.
No, it's good, and thank you. I think it's a very kind of good point to bring Liz into the discussion, because we talked just very briefly in between panels about kind of, obviously your, the delivery of your initiative. I'm just sort of trying to avoid calling it a course, is quite different. It's year round. I'm thinking in particular about the forum, and sort of picking up on what Silvia's talking about in terms of some of those trends and preoccupations. I wonder whether you might have a kind of slightly different viewpoint.
So I think everyone was in my last session where I talked about the Pixel Lab, which is our training program, which is very audience focused right from the beginning of developing your project, and that's something we believe in very strongly, and I talked about a lot in the last panel. We also run another program called Power to the Pixel, the Cross Media Forum, which is a conference market and a think tank. But the first 2 days of the event are incredibly informative, because we bring together some of the leading people from around the world who are really thinking about how you grow audiences as you develop projects, as you finance them, and as you distribute and exhibit them. And the kind of like what you can capture, what you can understand about your audience all the way through the process, and how that information is something you have to, whatever part of the cycle you're in, whether you're a cinema or whether you're a producer, you know, much earlier on in the production chain, what value that's going to bring at each stage. Because cinemas are, or theatres or real world places are specific places where you engage with you know, a film or a concert or an experience, or a particular experience. But we know that many people are going to experience content in many other ways. And, you know, I amaze myself. I'm a member of this wonderful institution, so I can come and see films, but I don't for free, you know, as part of my membership. But I don't, and why is that? It's like looking at what are the motivations for people doing certain things in certain places, and it gets harder and harder for people to come to cinemas now because there are so many other things. Well, let's think about it in comparison to the past. There were very little forms of entertainment in comparison, and now there's a lot of other things that you can do, and it becomes, you know, more, you know, I think of myself as a Londoner. Maybe, you know, it's an age thing as well. You know, I'm really busy, I don't have the time, so, and there's many other things that I can, you know, how am I going to understand that and understand about, you know, where my audience is, and, you know, at what moment they're going to come into a live space, when they're going to be watching something commuting, and what does that mean? So in our forum in October, there's a really wonderful array of people, like one of the heads of Kickstarter going to be there, talking about from their experience what they've seen in terms of how their, you know, campaigns have been run on their site and what they've learned as a company. We have people giving overviews of new platforms and new business models, and how much those new, you know, platforms, whether they're big or big like Amazon or Netflix, or sort of some of the smaller, sort of less well-known VOD platforms, how they're working with to capture data, and how they're feeding that back sometimes to producers to help them grow ideas. So there's a whole array of different people. There's people, we're looking at in the whole virtual reality and immersive storytelling world. So we've got sort of the leaders from the companies like Oculus and Sony and Samsung. Got an exhibition of virtual reality work that we're doing, because it's in association with London Film Festival. So there's a whole look at audience, where they are, how you engage with them, how you capture valuable information about them, and data that moves your project or your business forward in the future.
Thank you. Corinne, thinking about the festivals that have been attending your course sort of over the years, and this most recent year, do you want to kind of draw on some of the examples of sort of how those particular festivals are kind of tackling these issues that we're kind of covering? So yeah, competing attention and time for audiences.
Definitely something that we talk about on the course. I mean, most film festivals, I think there's a really depressing statistic that they'll only run once, the majority of film festivals. So a lot of what we talk about is on sustainability and how to keep your festival going, how to keep attracting an audience. And so we talk a lot about going into communities, actually finding out what people are interested in. Is there actually an audience for a film festival there? Is it worth setting up from the start? How can you get new people interested? And not just on social media. Obviously you need a social media presence, but how else can you actually build those groups? And it's about actually having conversations with people, which doesn't mean asking them what they want to see, because of course you need to be the arbiters of taste and actually show people what you believe in is a great film. But asking them what they're doing, what they're interested in, when they would want to attend, and things like that, and actually getting to know the area that you're running your festival in. As well as that, as I was saying about sustainability, sponsorship, money, that's always an issue that comes up. We had a speaker from Toronto Film Festival, so massive film festival, gets a lot of funding from sponsors and from the city. How is that useful to somebody that runs a short film festival in Finland? It might not seem that they're completely different types of festival, but it's just really inspiring to listen to someone who's managed to build up such a great sponsorship following. So, you know, and there's little things that you can learn, little ideas that they have that you can maybe apply to your own festival. So that's what we've been.
Okay. I mean, we're coming towards the end of the session, so I want to kind of just ask sort of a question that wraps up some of these points we're due to cover from the three of you. You're all involved in, you know, dealing with funders in terms of, you know, how to, you know, securing kind of the support for your courses. So therefore, I'm assuming you're thinking ahead as to what, you know, what you're going to be covering in the future and how to kind of continue to, you know, justify what it is that you're doing and why. So this is quite a hard question. So, you know, can you think about and talk about kind of, you know, where you see your, you know, your particular kind of area going in the future, how you will kind of continue to make it relevant? I'm thinking, you know, here we've got lists about new ways creators can fund and distribute content, building brands to engage audiences, marketing to children. I don't mind who wants to take this first.
Well, talking about exhibition, it depends from where is the cinema, because, yeah. Actually, independent cinema are suffering a lot, but also because, in a way, they are not able to adapt to the audience, actually. So they are still stuck in the past. And so they need a renew. And on the other way, it depends. Like in Europe, there are a lot of countries that have national public support, let's say. So they are like really depending from the money and the public money. And there are other countries like, well, UK, for instance, or Estonia, or other countries with really few public funded that have to invent, be creative to attract the audience. So actually, if you talk about the future of exhibition, well, I don't know, because if I know that, we will have the answer of, I mean, we don't need a training for that if I would have the answer, but that is true, that we have to communicate better with the rest of the chain of rights. It's the only solution that I found. Like, as Alex this morning, I'm a training alcoholic, me too. I went to ICO training, Develop Your Film Festival. I went to 2 training of Media Business School, because everything is linked. So the only solution that you can find is talk with the other people that are in the chain instead of fighting. Because the main problem in exhibition is that cinemas are fighting one against the other. This is my public. No, it's mine public. Festival also. Why this festival in my city is getting more money than me? And so everybody's fighting with everybody. But if there is more collaboration, probably, even with the platform, I mean, this is the only solution I can see. Just communicate better with the other professional in the industry.
Yeah, and there's certainly no shortage of film, and there's no shortage of people that want to work for film festivals or develop their own film clubs and film societies. We find that these things are just growing and growing, and there's no shortage of people that want to attend our courses. And I think that, yeah, particularly with what we're noticing is more people that are applying to our courses with new festivals that are just starting, and they're wanting some advice on how to actually get going. So I don't think that we need to be worried about this dying out. I think it's more a case of how do we sustain it and keep it going and make sure that it's relevant and people are actually attending. So that's what we hopefully can help with.
So, I mean, obviously the nature of Pixel Lab and the Cross Media Forum is about adapting to stay relevant. So we don't have an issue of relevance. And there's always an issue of funding, though, because that's, I think any kind of courses or festivals or other events, as we mentioned, are always tough to support. So that's a completely different question. I don't think the relevance of our course is a problem. I think it's kind of interesting. What I was talking about in the last panel was innovation, or looking at how you have to adapt, is usually the last thing that people want to finance, because they're kind of stuck in trying to keep their business going and sustained. And it's very hard to find that finance or that moment where you have time, that you have to essentially find time to. So I would say it is essential, because things are so, you know, in a way, when we look at the support of culture in Europe and the rest of the world, it's going to check, people are going to question what that means, and in terms of audience and culture, what that means and how cultures are evolving. So we have to really, to keep our, our cultural industries alive, we have to really be aware and not stick in our position of where we were because we think that's what it should be. So absolutely, collaborating, working together, totally essential across all these different parts, and that's the way we really agree because we think we should work. And I think it's something that the film and television business has not done enough. It's all very much about being fragmented. When I was talking in my last panel, everything happens at different stages. It's never integrated or interconnected, and we have to do that now. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah,
also because talking about audience, like I'm the typical, the typical person that go to the cinema theater, but I watch TV, but I also go on Netflix, but I also watch content on my device. So actually, audience is ready to everything. Audience is there. And also for art house film, it's like audience that never move from the... They know what they want to see, so we just need to help them to find the proper way to see the film they want or the content they want.
Okay, I think we're going to end it there. We've only gone slightly over time, and I think that all the panel are around to talk to you outside in the drinks, certainly for a little bit. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.